Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Thursday Tech Training. Today, we're going to go through the Opportunities tab, DocuSign, and how it integrates with Command and the Commission's part of Command. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. If you have any questions along the way, please just pipe in, unmute and ask a question. I really like when people participate. So if you need me to slow down or if you've got a particular question or something, just don't be shy and jump in. That's how this content kind of grows. It helps me develop the course every time I get a question. So let's jump right in. I guess we are looking at my Command login screen. Everyone should be familiar with this at this point. Get your login from, if you're a new agent, you would get it from the Keller Cloud Admin Complete email. Just sign in. And to get to the Opportunities tab, we're going to have to go to the homepage. We're going to look for the little handshake icon. And remember, we got that little cheat sheet here. If you click the little red KW, you can see all the different moving parts of Command. We're lazy that way. So we're going to click Opportunities. I used to teach Opportunities on day one just to kind of look at it, get an idea. I decided to rearrange it into today's class a little bit more because I think it has a lot more to do with DocuSign and commissions and everything. We're kind of here anyway, so I have an idea. So I moved it. So this will be the first time I teach it in this order. So if I get a little caught up, bear with me. But this is the Opportunities. I guess you call it the pipeline is, what all the fancy agents are calling it. But it's just supposed to be a way to help you organize your process, your thoughts, everything that you've got going on with a potential client or something. So we're just going to navigate around here a little bit, and then we'll zoom in on a particular opportunity and kind of go through some stuff like that. So that's kind of the lesson plan. So you can see a lot of people, if you've walked around the Market Center, might be trying to sort of recreate what this screen is doing, or maybe this screen is recreating what they're doing, actually, maybe more accurate, on a big whiteboard or something. They'll have a big grid, the different names of the different clients they're working with and in what stage in the opportunity they might be in, and the notes all that apply to any given client that they're working with. And it's the same idea here. It's broken up into 3 different main pipelines: listings, buyers, and leases. And each one comes stock, reasonably identical, with, of course, with different differences in the natures of the difference between listings and buyers and leases, etc. But for the most part, they're pretty similar. So the first thing I'd like to highlight is that if you click in on the little orb here, you're going to come to a screen, and I want you to notice that if I back out, if I click Opportunities, another way into that, or I should say, ways in here is to click around inside this. So if you go Cultivate, Appointment, Active, right? So if I'm back out here in Opportunities, if I click Cultivate, Appointment, Active, I'm going to the same place. You just see that this tab is highlighted instead. So if I click back over here, I'm going to see the opportunity associated in this particular spot, which is just a note card you can move around, those little 6 dots. And I can get to it by clicking here, or I can get to it by navigating in here. So you're kind of going to the same space that way, and that's worth noting. So also note that the Cultivate here is different than the Cultivate in the Buyers section. So that's in a different area as well, but you can navigate all these spaces the same way. So it's just a good way to make sure that you're not getting lost in the different things that you're doing. All right, so let's go back to Opportunities here. I suppose what we want to highlight is how to create an opportunity. I think I had this on day one because you need a contact to create an opportunity. We need contacts on day one. So I saw a little bit of a connection there, but then I would lose it when we got into the DocuSign. I thought it was confusing. So we're going to do it this way instead. It's just worth noting that to create an opportunity, you need to associate that opportunity with a contact that you've got in your command. One contact can have as many opportunities as you like. Each opportunity is a transaction. So if someone is buying multiple properties, they would need a different opportunity for each one of those. So we can go here, create opportunity, and kind of just fill in the blanks. What market center are you in? If you've got some to choose from, I suppose. The opportunity type, listing, buyer, landlord, tenant. Let's do a listings one. Clients, you're gonna have to find them in your contacts list. And you'll notice that that's required up here, the little red asterisk. So some people can run into some trouble here. They want to create an opportunity. They might get frustrated because they don't notice that that's required. So you can go in here and just type in the first couple of letters of someone's name that you expect to be on your contacts list, and it'll load up. I think I've got a bunch of dummy names on my thing. So if I did like baby something or other, yeah, I got like baby Cheeto and duckling baby. But you can see it'll kind of populate. I'm going to put it in mine. so that if I do send something out, I'm only bothering me because I don't know if those fake emails go anywhere or not. Co-seller, if there is one, again, I think that would be in a contacts list. It would load up something. Yeah, there we go. So if you've got, you can put a co-seller from there on there, not required. And then you need to name it something. Here we go. So let's take a look at estimated close date and your estimated listing price, commission rate. You know, these things are required, but these are not what's going, these are not like the last word on it. You're supposed to be, you know, putting in your very best, most educated estimation of all these things in here. And I'll tell you what that does. Let's just kind of come in some random stuff. Let's see, I'm buying a $100 house and we'll put a 3 there. And what opportunity phase they're in, cultivate, appointment, active, you know, whatever it might be. You're starting the opportunity farther down the line than maybe like right at the beginning. So we'll put them all in this and an estimated close date of something, I don't know, that one, and create. So now you're in this area, you've created this opportunity. It takes you straight into the opportunity details. So we're going to back out of this a little bit and show you where this took us as you look at all of your different opportunities. So let's back out here. And so again, this is the top level one. You'll notice this used to have a 1 here. If you notice that now there's 2 because I've got 2 opportunities there. I just created a new one. So you can kind of see how many you've got in any given stage and how things are moving forward. If you clicked into it, you'd find your way to the, where did I put it? I have lost my opportunity. Oh no, maybe I need to refresh. Oh, here we go. Maybe that's the one. There it is. I've got one in nurture and one in watch now. So if I back out here, you can kind of see that I've got a couple of things in cultivate, active, got nothing in any of this. So here we are. So you create the opportunity, it jumps in over here. You can navigate to it by going in that way. You can see the different stages that you're in. You can just move it on down. So if you need to move it to something like, you know, active, you just grab it by the 6 dots. I would say it can be a little bit grouchy if you grab it from the middle. It will work, you know, but I've always found that if you actually grab it by the actual 6 dots and you put it somewhere, it's a little bit more likely to end up wherever it is you're putting it. And that definitely helps out. You know, just keep your frustration levels nice and low. So let's again take a step back, and you'll recall in the create opportunity here we put in these little estimates down at the bottom, and what that's doing is it's calculating probabilities over here. Your potential income, probable income, and all the different things that that it takes. Now, what that's saying is your potential income is if everything closed, everything you put in there that you did went all the way there and you were fantastic, you're doing the whole thing. And then probable income runs down the statistics of the likelihood that something is in a particular stage will get all the way to closing from wherever it is. And as things move towards closing, they become from less probable and more potential, in other words. So if something's way on here, it might not actually get all the way over here. So they're accounting for that. So that's the difference. And if you put in those numbers, it just kind of helps calculate all that stuff for you. So take a look at the notes here. Okay, so let's look at sort of the nature of an opportunity here. Now we clicked in and we're in the watch cultivate of a listing. So you can click here and you can see view details or archive opportunity. Those are your options. If you also click here, it'll take you into the details. It's just 2 ways to get through. But we want to note while we're here, sort of what if the things that can happen with an opportunity. What is it? I always say there's 3 things that can happen with opportunity after you create it. You can archive it, it can close, or it can be marked as lost. And those are the 3 proper things that should happen with an opportunity, depending on the nature of what's been going on. So an archived opportunity would be essentially deleting it. So the reason you would archive an opportunity would be is if there's a major mistake or some major error, it's not really reflective of reality. It's going to be a lot easier for you to make a new opportunity. You just need this to get out of your way. sort of like an erroneous thing happened, you would archive that opportunity. It would be kind of out of your way. You can go and view those later. You can filter a list. I'll show you where that is, but you can see all your archived opportunities. So that's one thing that can happen. Another thing that you can do is if you go into the details, you can mark an opportunity as lost over here and then save it if that's in fact what happened. And what that's saying is everything in this opportunity actually is the thing that happened. It's accurate. It's just for whatever reason this deal fell through. You know, they don't want to do this thing, or for any number of reasons that I'm sure we've all heard about. Maybe nothing, it doesn't work out. You would mark that as lost. So it's in a different category. And then the last thing that can happen with an opportunity is that it can close, which is the one that we all want. So in order for that to be true, if you're out here in opportunities, you would go out here, grab your tab, and you would move it all the way on down into the closed phase. And you can move it into legacy. And what this does is I'm drawing a blank. I think it's 30 days. For 30 days, it'll exist here and you can see it. After 30 days, it doesn't get deleted or removed. It just kind of leaves this viewing area to kind of get it out of your way so that it doesn't just build up with a bunch of opportunities that you closed. But that's also if you move your opportunities properly and you filled out the numbers the way that it's asking, then all of the reporting that command is attempting to do for you will be more accurate, because these are the numbers that it works with to do that. So when you're in opportunities, you can look at a list of your opportunities in the all opportunities tab. So if you've archived something or lost something or things are closed and it's past that 30 days mark, you can go to all opportunities and you can show as up to 75. And you can filter it so that you can see maybe the ones that you're expecting to see. Right now, I think it's only showing the active ones, the sort of the standard list. But if you go to filters and say include archived opportunities, and you can actually get all the different filters depending on what you might want to see. If it's a particular contact, ones that have a particular tag. If you're on a team and you want to know which owner of that opportunity only had these whatever opportunities that were associated with that person, close date. And you just set it all up and hit apply, you can kind of see everything. Right now, I'm just going to, I only have include archived opportunities, the only thing that I have active right now. As you can see, all of these ones just appeared. I had all these training example ones at some point for one reason or another, and they all just appeared. So they'll stay there forever, and you can kind of see them that way. And you can sort these columns. If you're looking for more insight, depending on your filters and how you sort these, it can kind of help you make sense of what's happening. What type. So if you sorted it by who owned the opportunity and what type of opportunity or what phase was it in, if it was archived or did they all get closed, you can kind of see that. The volume, the commission, the close date. You just want to see like the oldest one, or just want to sort by close date and only look for like the last, 6 months or whatever it is. So again, you can just use this list and modify it to kind of get some insight into what's going on. So let's back out of here and make sure I didn't miss any of the things. Oh, the task lists. Let's talk about that. This is something that some people love it, some people hate it, but it's there and you should know about it. So we can go into the node of an opportunity. I'm going to click cultivate in listings here, and you can go to edit stages up here. And then these words should be familiar to you: watch, nurture, and hot. So let's go back one and see. Watch, nurture, and hot, right, in the cultivate phase. So I can edit the stages in the cultivate stage, watch, nurture, and hot. I can reorder them if I want to, if I think they're out of order, or I can edit it if I want. If there's a process that makes more sense to me, if I, watch, nurture, and hot just sounds silly to me and it doesn't really have much meaning and I'm not really using it, you can change the name to something like, I don't know, potential. Probability. I would leave these probabilities where they are unless you're some kind of statistically inclined person. Again, all this reporting is just for you, but it was programmed by someone who was probably at least smarter than me, which isn't saying much, but if you're predisposed to that, you probably have some fun with it. But I would recommend just leaving it where it is, if for no better reason than to stay apples to apples with someone else that might have it if you want to compare notes or something. But just save, and you'll notice that changes. You can add another stage if you want more than 3, if you think potential, or I changed it potential, nurture, and hot. I'm going to change that back just for training purposes so people don't get confused with me. Change that back to watch. But you can just add multiple stages that way, and you can look at the checklist associated with that stage if you wanted to use that too. And then there's this functionality of the client updates that you can also utilize. Maybe we can talk about that in a minute. But you can rearrange these things, and you can add an item if you wanted to, cancel that. Or you can remove an item. So you can modify the different stages and the different steps associated with this process. So if you're really, a task list oriented person, like I know I am, I love having a list. You can come in here and you can change the stage, and then you can say, okay, when they're in the watch stage, I want to make sure that these things happen. And when this list is satisfied one way or another, I can say, okay, well, that means they're no longer in the watch stage, they're in the nurture stage. And then you probably dial it in as you do these checklists, and sure, there's some middle ground. Like maybe you can check all of these boxes, but they're not quite in the nurture stage in your mind for some reason. So you might want to add a stage that, maybe you didn't know you needed, and you can kind of work on it that way. But this can help you stay organized. All of that. And then you can look at the client updates here. Let's see, I'm supposed to bring something up. There we go. It's going to bring you into settings. And I've only worked with this a little bit. Not everybody uses it. Where is it? Where'd you go, client updates? Pretty much what this does is once you have it set up, you can turn it on or turn it off. And if you check something on the checklist, that day, it'll send out an email update to the person associated with that opportunity. So the contact associated with that opportunity. So if you wanted them to stay, apprised of what it is that you're doing, you can check off different things. You can say, okay, we did this, or we organized that, and communicate with them that way. Not all the stages necessarily send out an email. Some are client update linked, some are not. You can determine those things. And you would just switch it on here. When it sends, send it from, would be the owner. And then if, client and co-client, or just the primary client. So you can set all that up as well. Let's go back one. And I just want to show here on the checklist that this can be turned into a client update or not. That's how you determine that. So you would say that if you checked off obtain property address, if that's just for you to know, then you wouldn't click the client update box, in other words. But if you want them, if every opportunity, that would be something that they should know for some reason, and in a given situation. When you check off this thing on the checklist as complete, that'll trigger like, okay, something changed today in that 24-hour period. We'll send out that update email, and it'll say obtain property address. And in this example, I don't know why they would care, but that's how you set that. So we cancel it. Again, this is just setting up all of the checklists that you would see when you're using an opportunity, so to speak. So let's back out and we'll see where that is. So if I'm out here and I'm in here, you would see, watch, nurture, and hot. You can click in and see some of these details. So this is the details section here. Just to kind of navigate around a little bit, this is where it starts to kind of overlap with some of that DocuSign training as we kind of move into the documents tab over here. But the details, again, this is also a little bit DocuSign as well, where it says sync transaction and these little blue tabs. What this is saying is anywhere that there's this little blue tab, if you fill it out accurately by clicking the little ghost pencil and filling in the blanks properly, and then hit sync transaction, what you'll notice is where that says edited. When I say update and then refresh, all of these will say synced. And then this connects to my DocuSign account that's connected to Command. And I'll show you that when we get over to DocuSign that there's a space there also labeled as details that this connects to. And what that does is any document that I bring into the system that calls for information that knows it should be calling for information, that's something like address line 1, it'll automatically populate to that form because this part of it's already done for you. And then you can fill out further details in DocuSign and have it do even more and more for you. So if you're working in transaction that's got like a bazillion contracts, I don't know, some with less than others, maybe, I'm not really sure, but you can fill out those details and, could potentially save you a lot of time because every time you bring in a document, it'll fill out that stuff for you. But we'll talk about more of that a little bit more in a little while. So let's move on to seller profile, which honestly does not have too much functionality right now. You can associated with the app, or if you're using a guide, should have access to directly right here. You can do, this is your checklists up here. Again, and this is the checklist specifically with this opportunity. So this isn't the one where I edit it for everybody. I've done that in the previous one, and now I'm applying it. This is actually this particular opportunities checklist. So I can check these off as done as I feel as though I've completed these tasks. And I guess you can check that as a client update right there too. Just pretty cool. Set a due date if you need to, which will probably set you a task reminder. You can set, you can remove these things. Like, so if they're individually not quite relevant, you can change it here, but only, again, if you edit this one, it's not going to change your template that gets applied. It's going to change only this opportunities one. And you can flip through. Pretty cool. So we're into documents. We're going to kind of bounce in and out of this tab today. This is where we're getting into the DocuSign thing. The most used button on this page probably will be this one right here as far as this training is concerned. This is the go to transaction button. I'm going to highlight this one a lot. We're going to go through the workflows of finding this button a lot, but remember where that button is. That's what's going to take you into DocuSign. That's what's going to make sure that command creates a DocuSign room. When command creates the DocuSign room, then you can be certain that that room is directly connected to command and will function properly later. And also, if you've got a lot going on and DocuSign is a little bit of chaos when you go directly to it, if you lose track of what room is associated with the transaction you intend, going into your opportunity in command and clicking that button will take you to exactly and specifically only that room that is associated with your opportunity in command. So it's a way to kind of orient yourself and establish things. So remember where this is. If you don't have a transaction created, it'll say something like start transaction or create transaction. I don't remember. I haven't made a new one in a little bit. So we'll come back to here. We're going to talk about these checklists a little bit. Offers and commissions, we're going to touch on this near the end. It's pretty straightforward. I know this is that's probably the most exciting part of the class, but it's really straightforward. It's very streamlined. It's really not super challenging to understand what you're trying to do there. And then you can take notes on your opportunity here, and then you can also see a timeline if you've got anything logged in the timeline associated with it. This one might take a million years to load because I've had this training opportunity for a while, but you can see, here we go, checklist items and commission change and anything that I've done. Went to transaction with DocuSign. So you can kind of see, maybe the steps, track some of that stuff. So let's come on back to documents. Let's make sure I didn't blow by anything that I intended before we move on. And let me just pause here, I guess. And Janice or Roger, do either of you have any questions about anything? Oh, I saw something on Joy asked me a question in the chat and I totally missed it. I'll have to get her back. But Janice or Roger, do you have any questions?
I do not, Jonathan.
I'll have to get in touch with. Thanks, Roger. I'll get in touch with Joyce there with her question. Wait, half a second to take a quick note because she's not here anymore. Okay. So, pardon me. This section is the documents. This is kind of where it kind of becomes sort of a gray area between, okay, we're in command, we're working with DocuSign, DocuSign's with command. This is sort of the interface between the two. And you can look and see all the different checklists that command would like, given the nature of the opportunity that you're working in. So we are in a training listing. So this is the listed checklist here. And you'll notice these are all gray. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I have not uploaded this required document who's expected to be working with real estate agents. So then this is that checklist of the different things that would generally be expected. Required ones are of course required, and then conditional, it would be up to you to decide which of these are relevant to what you're up to. But they're all included here if you wanted to do it. And then you've got 3 different checklists here listed: under contract and closed. Each one has its own checklist of required documents, and each one has its own button that is submit to MC up here. So if you filled in all of the listed ones and you're currently still working on the under contract ones, you can go up here and submit to MC on this while you continue to work with the under contract and closed ones and so on. be aware that if you click that submit to MC button, you've got to be 100% certain that everything is ready to go, because it's going to kind of lock it down. You won't be able to add or remove things or modify things because it's going to go out for review. And in order for it to be reviewed properly, things kind of have to pause so that they can see it all and it's not changing while they're looking at it. So you'll submit those for review. They'll look at it. If there's anything up with it, if they need something or something's not right, you'll get a notification and a note and what you might need to do next. And then they'll release it and you can make those changes and then submit to MC again after that. So in order to attach a document, you need to make these not gray anymore. And we're going to start from this and then we're going to jump into DocuSign. We're going to come back around to it. But if you had a document that's ready to be attached, let's say, we're enlisted and you've got a working with real estate agents document already filled out in DocuSign, you would want to tell it where that's coming from. That's the logic of what these boxes are trying to accomplish. They're saying attach files from where. It's asking right now. It's preset to DocuSign, but it doesn't know where in DocuSign specifically. It's connected to a room that we've created if you push this button up here, but then you've got different folders in that room and it wants to know which one. Now, if you've never made a folder in DocuSign, technically every room has one folder called Room Docs. It's just the generic one. You would have to click that folder and then these would be released and you could grab whatever documents after that because it knows it's looking in DocuSign in the Room Docs folder. So if you are not using DocuSign, if you are using whatever other program, or if you're using DocuSign indirectly, if you're not connecting it to command, you would be using whatever program to process your contracts, get them signed, get them back, and then you're probably downloading them to your hard drive or Google Drive or something. And then you'd need to move them from there to here. So in that case, if you need to move a document to here, you would just attach from my computer manually, which would change all these boxes. And you could go and click browse. And then wherever it is that you've stashed it on your computer, you'd be able to find it and directly attach it that way. So depending on your workflow, that's how you would do that. Now, if you're doing it that way, the next step all about DocuSign is going to be a little bit less interesting unless you're looking to make a change, but that's how you do it the manual way. So let's kind of back up here and we'll come back around. We'll see how this all kind of connects back around. So I'm going to click go to transaction from here. And I'm going to sign into DocuSign with my KW email address and password. Oh, I've got to verify it. Wait a second, I've got this open. Oh, yes, it is. Get out of here. Oh, it is mad. That's exactly the code it just sent. I'm looking right at it. Maybe I have to get it to do it again. All right. Sorry for the delay on this one. We're just going to try again. Oh, there we go. Now it's happy with me. Okay, so we are in the room associated with this opportunity. The name is a little bit different because I renamed my opportunities at some point just to kind of make things a little bit more streamlined. But if you created a brand new one, you would notice up here that this would be the exact same name as the opportunity that you created. And then you would notice that you're in this DocuSign room space. So we're going to stop here. And one of the details that I want to highlight is that in order for you to have documents access, you have to put your NRDS number into the DocuSign, into your profile so that you can grab whatever documents that you want to work with in DocuSign. So this is how you do that. You go up here to your picture, you click Preferences. We move over to Integrations. You come over to Add Provider. Then you want to click the big fancy blue Realtor logo. You want to put your NRDS ID here, last name, and then the association, which would be the North Carolina. Oh, it's alphabetical now. It didn't used to be alphabetical. This used to be a lot more painful. It's North Carolina Association of Realtors. You fill all that stuff out and validate, you'll have access to North Carolina forms. So here's a good example of maybe I don't know where I am. So I put all of that in and I go back to rooms. And I've got all of these rooms open. I'm not feeling super confident about which one was associated with my opportunity. I could guess, I suppose, but it's a lot easier because this tab's already open right here. You can just close this and click your go to transaction button. Now I'm 100% certain I'm in the DocuSign room, exactly where I intended to be. It's a lot less frustrating. So that's what that button really kind of helps with. It just keeps you exactly where you need to be. Now, if you wanted to bring in a form to work with, if you click this little add and you went to DocuSign Forms, you would get the library of things that you're able to use. And then up here, you would be able to use these forms. Mine says no access because I don't have an NRDS number, I'm not licensed, but you would see this if you, before you put those numbers in, you wouldn't be able to click this box to bring them in to your library like you would be able to do down here and bring something in. So let's bring in whatever that is. So you just click it and you go add selected. So once something is here, I've got these different folders. So this is room docs. Again, the room docs folder is always up here. This is the one that I just brought in. You can see it's still loading up the preview of it. If you wanted to create new folders, I always make a little joke that I found the folder button because it was hard for me to find the first time. Because in order to add a folder, you might think you want to click add, but this means add forms. Technically, to add a folder, you want to click actions, add folder, give it a name. Great. And then you would have a new folder to work with. So if you needed to organize yourself, this is another way to do it. Also, I would take a note if we pop back over to command here and we say like room docs. The little drop down box here might not, I gotta find one that's actually got some folders in it or some things in it. There we go. So these are named, they're nice and neat, and it's just like a one-line thing. But if some of the documents might have like a long sort of like computer sounding thing with numbers and whatever, you'll notice that it turns aqua when your pointer is on it. If that was a really long one, it would just kind of go here and then bounce down a line and then read again left to right, left to right. It might have take up multiple lines, but it's one clickable link. So you would look for that aqua to show up to see the whole title, because sometimes the titles can accidentally be really, really big. So one of the ways around that, if that's something that bothers you, is you can just find a way to make sure that it's titled something, you know, a little bit more tidy. There's one way to do it. But you can also just move things around into just like a folder that you feel is like the relevant folder. And then every time something becomes less relevant, you can file it away in something else. So that even if you have really long titles, the list is at least short, that you can easily work with which one's which. So we brought in a document, and one of the things that I want to highlight up here is these tabs up here. So let's take a look at details. We talked about this sort of near the beginning of the DocuSign part. This is, if you click the little edit pencil, this is all the stuff that DocuSign would like to fill out your forms for you. This is maybe the boring stuff. So it's kind of like what would pop out of the printer for someone to sign that's customized for specifically them, like their address, their phone numbers, their everything like that, that isn't them actually signing it. So this is the boring stuff. So if you fill this stuff out in its relevant spot, any form that is pre-tagged as seller one and it's calling for the name, it'll put in whatever's in that blank. And then if you come back over here, if you were to bring up a form in the documents tab of the room that you're working in, if you were to open up a document, you would also be able to fill out the same nature of information as we were just looking at in the details tab. I call this the boring stuff. So we call this the boring stuff and the exciting stuff. And there's sort of two different parts of DocuSign you work with as far as filling things out. This is the boring stuff where you can click into the boxes and put in all of the boring, mundane information like addresses and phone numbers and whatever else. And then the exciting stuff is like when you're arranging the signature boxes and stuff. So I use that terminology personally. It just kind of helps streamline the conversation a little bit. It is worth noting that the boring stuff here, if you were to fill out something here and save it and close it, it will save over into the details section. backwards. So somewhere on this long scroll sheet is the word here. Teacher's curse is going to keep me from finding it. There it is, right there. So it filled it out backwards. So now, because it knows, okay, now it has an entry in this nature of a cell. So it's going to fill it out here in every form going forward. The name will be here every other time I pop in a form for me. So it goes both directions and it's attempting to save you that time. So we go over here to documents. So now we're in DocuSign, we connected it. The intention now is, okay, I've got a form, I brought it in, I need to send it out for signature. This is why I'm here. So what you're going to want to do is create an envelope in DocuSign to use. Now, if you went over here, all you would see is any envelopes that you've already created. You could create a new one here, but it's a little bit easier to do it this other way around, especially if you're bringing in documents from the library. It's definitely worth your time to do it this way. So we're in our room, we're in the documents tab of the room associated with the opportunity that we came through from command. We are going to select whatever form we brought over from the add button from our libraries or forms. You can select multiple. And we'll just grab this one. And then we're going to create an envelope. It's a little tricky here because I really always want to click this one, but that's really just the email button. I wish that was an @ symbol because that would make a lot more sense for email to me, because pen for some reason is create envelope. So don't get tricked. Click the pen for create envelope. I should send them some feedback on that sometime. And this is going to create an envelope. So the stage that we're in right now is we pulled in a document, we filled out the boring stuff already, because once we've moved on to this step, we can't fill out the boring stuff out anymore. It's sort of typed on there. You can go back and modify it in the document section of the room, but once you put it in an envelope, it's sort of locked in. So make sure you've taken the time to first fill out the document with the boring stuff before you come here. And then over here in the envelope name, give this a name because every envelope comes preloaded with please DocuSign as the title. And you saw me in the envelope section previously here, and it's just going to show you all the different envelopes that you have associated with an opportunity. If you haven't taken the time to name your envelopes, they're all going to say please DocuSign. And if you need to go back and find something, it's going to be really frustrating to, okay, I don't know which one. I think I know around the date I sent this. You click one, that's not it. Come back out, click a different one, that's not it. Come out. So give yourself a clue. Name it whatever the stage is. If you're sending out or working with real estate agents, name it that. And then you'll be able to be in your opportunity and you can look at the envelopes only in that opportunity and be able to filter that, okay, this is the working with real estate agents that, we used for this one, this particular opportunity. And it's just way less frustrating. So give yourself a clue. Call this something. And it always means something different to everybody. Some people have the same first phase of information they send out. And I've heard people just saying, call it phase 1 or the welcome package, or as long as it means something to you, you know what's in it, you've gotten there. And that's the idea. So you can go here and click view. It can be a little bit of a trick because you might think you can attempt to modify what I call the boring stuff where I typed here before, but I can't. It looks like it's been typed on with a typewriter here. And this is what I mean. If there's a mistake here, you're gonna have to remove the document from the envelope, go back to your documents, make that change, and then create an envelope again with the updates. So make sure you take that time to do that, right? You can download this here if you needed to. So if someone was doing blank forms, you could fill out all of the boring stuff over there, and you can just download it if somebody wanted to do a handwritten signature. Here's the PDF of that. You can just print that off. Then you would have to scan it back in and do whatever else after that, but that's an option. So we've got the envelope name. We have the boring stuff filled out. It's in the envelope. We're going to add the person that's intended to sign it now. So we're going to go with pre-tagged roles. You can, if you wanted to, click email address. Just put someone's name here and put their email here. If you do that, you're skipping out on a huge time saver that DocuSign and I think other signature programs use, but definitely with DocuSign, where right now all I'm going to do is I'm going to click next here and I would see my document. I would have to move all of the associated signature boxes over from scratch. And that also means I would have to do it with every single form if I chose to do it this way as my go-to workflow. And you're skipping out on a big opportunity to do that. Let me show you what that is. So I'm going to remove that. That was a mistake. We're going to go pre-tagged roles. And we're going to say buyer 1 and buyer 2 are 2 different kinds of people that are intended or at least mapped to this document already. That's why we brought it from the library. We didn't bring it from the library just so that they were convenient. They're actually already arranged with all these signature boxes for us, which is why I took the time to put in our entities number and have that access. So if you add selected, and you can then use these to assign the different roles. So you want to put in their name, name 1 and name 2, and then their email address. And I'm just going to use the same fake email address over here too. All right, so the next thing that you can do here is you can assign what order these this envelope goes out. So let's move this up a little here. So it's got a 1 and a 2. So what this is saying right now is when I click send and this goes out, buyer 1, whose name is this at this email address, will first need to sign. Once that person has done all of this stuff, it'll move down to buyer 2, the second person that receives this at this email address. They also need to sign. So, and you can add people to this too. It doesn't have to be pre-tag roles that you add to it, but you definitely want to use the pre-tag roles as they are available. But maybe there's someone that just needs to kind of see what's up. And that person is this person. And an email. So you can change this to something like receives a copy. So now it would go through all of these different steps. I can change that to 3 so that when these 2 people are done signing, it'll move to this person, they receive a copy, and that's that. You can also change it to needs to view. And if I move that up here and made that a 2 and made this a 3, I can change the order of how this sends out. Buyer 1 needs to sign. Once that's satisfied, it'll move to step 2. This person will need to view it, which means they actually have to open it to satisfy the step. They don't just get it in their inbox. Once they viewed it, it'll move on to step 3, where buyer 2 would need to sign. So you can kind of program how the contract gets passed around and save yourself some time with that as well. So I'm going to remove that. And email subject and email message is exactly what you expect. So, make sure it sounds like it's coming from you, because Please DocuSign sounds a little robotic. So email subject would be something like, I don't know, fill out these forms. And explain to them what you're doing, because you don't want to sound like a robot. And sign it something nice. So another quick thing you could do if you wanted to is you can add a private message. So down here, all of the recipients of the envelope will get this message, and I can add a private one here. And buyer 1 will be the only one that sees that. I wanted to use that function. You can also add a password protection if someone's sharing an inbox for some reason, or they're using a lot of public computers for whatever reason. If other people would have access to the form and you want to protect it, you can add an access code. And then here's what you shouldn't do, though, is your private message shouldn't say something like this, because, so to speak, that would be a lot like locking up your bike and then leaving the key in the lock, because it's all right there. They're going to get this all at the same time. So it really wouldn't add a layer of protection if you're giving them the combination right there, right along with it. So if you are going to choose to do ask us authentication, you want to say something like text me or the code. And then once they get it, you can send them the code separately and go to their phone and they can access that form. So I'm going to close those out and get rid of them. And we're going to move on to the exciting stuff. Let's talk about the exciting stuff. Well, next, and this is going to be where you move around all of the signature boxes if you need to. And if you've done everything right and it's a straightforward form, it'll already be here. You can notice that this is already here, ready to sign. They're already in position. Now this is a pretty straightforward form. It's just 4 boxes, but some contracts can be, a million miles long with a zillion boxes. So it can really be a time saver. You just kind of scan it, make sure that everything is relevant to what you're trying to accomplish specifically, and you're good. You can click send. But if you need to arrange your own boxes, that's how you do it. So let's say these weren't here. Let's say that wasn't there. I've got buyer, and I've got name 1, name 2 up here for the 2 different people associated with this form. You'll notice that the boxes change color depending on who I'm going to arrange their fields for. So I'm going to name 1, yellow boxes, signature. Put that, you just grab it and bring it over there. And then they also need to know the date sign, so I'm just going to grab that and bring it over there. You can also just click one time and it'll be stuck to your little pointer here if you need it, and click it there, and you can get rid of it with the delete button if it was a mistake. And then I also want the second buyer to be able to sign here, so I'd have to toggle this to the second name, grab that signature thing, click it there, and then you can resize this if you need things to be a little bit more tidy. Go like that. So if you like square edges, you can do that too. You can also use your keyboard shortcuts here. So let me show you what I mean. If you grab this and hit Control C, you copied it, Control V, you pasted it. Now I can move this up here, but it's a blue box and that's a problem. So I can click this. I can go over to the recipient, change it over here, which is different than over here. This one gives me the library of ones to bring over and who that's for. This one is, if I've selected one, this little slider on the right will pop up and disappear. And it's asking me what options do I have with that particular box. So I'll grab that and I can say that I don't want this box to be for name 2. I meant for it to be name 1. That'll change it to that. So now that's done. So if you've made these boxes the exact right size for this line, you can just copy paste and then reassign who they're supposed to go to. Same thing here. You can just copy paste. You got another one and change the recipient to whoever it's supposed to be. And you're back in business. So you've got different options with the different kinds of boxes. Got initial. They just need a casual initial. Date sign is exactly what it sounds like. It'll date, when they're interacting with the document. Their name, which is just a printed name, it'll pre-fill out whatever it is you've named these people. So mine would say name 1 and name 2 in this box, depending on who it's associated with. Company and title, I think we'll also pre-fill from the details. If you filled out those titles, those details down there. You can click and drag to make a box and grab a bunch of stuff. At the same time, you can move it all around together. I can grab a whole group and go Control C to copy it and then Control V to paste it and paste an entire group. So I can do multiple things that way too. I can grab all of this if it's all complete mistake and I hit the delete button and get rid of all at the same time. So it's not so different from working with the design editor that we learned about. And you can resize things, move things, copy and paste things a similar way. The text box is just a generic box. It comes preloaded as a required box to fill out up here. We'll talk about that just a little bit. But if this is here and it's required, it means they have to put something in there. It could just be one period and that'll be satisfied. But normally that would be for something like, I don't know, like if you didn't know their mailing address, you could put this here and it'd be required. They'd have to click into it and fill it out. Check boxes, as they are different from the radio buttons. So these are 2 check boxes. I'll make 3 for the purpose of this example. And here is a radio button. They're slightly different. And what we do with these are, first of all, these are required. The check boxes are not. Because what they're saying, the difference is you can choose one of these. So if we were to move these, for instance, up here in this place here, I would say I can choose one of these things and only one of these things, but I must choose one of these things, right? We'll move those out of the way. If the check boxes are here, instead what I'm saying is you can choose none or as many of these as you want, and therefore they're not required. So I can choose all 3, I can leave all blank, I can choose 2, whatever it's gonna be. You can also square things up real quick and see this is a little bit like less than awesome. If you select the group of things that you want to interact with, like this, you can go up here and kind of justify them separately. So you can go like this and line them up. So if you're like me and you like square edges, you can use this tool and line things up. And you can grab things from different groups and do like the top one, line it up that way. So if you needed to have 2 boxes right next to each other like this, you can line them all up and make it look nice pretty easily. Let's talk about required fields real quick. So let's say that I want to put in this text here. Maybe it's required, but only if I click this thing, maybe, I don't know. So what you can do, this is slightly advanced, but it's worth knowing. So in this situation, I would put in those radio buttons. We're going to say they have to choose at least one. And in the case that they choose the second or third one, then they would have to fill out these text boxes, right? So you can click this middle one, go to conditional logic. This is a little bit advanced. You can grab create rule. And what it's saying is right now I've got this one selected. It wants to know what box should activate if I activate this box. So I'm going to say, okay, radio button number 2. I have radio button number 2 clicked, then I want this box to be something that shows up for them to fill out. Click done. Right? And I can do the same thing over here. I've got this group. I can go to create rule. I can select radio button 3. And then I can say, okay, when somebody clicks radio button 3, I want this field to be something that becomes available. And I'll show you as that is different from something that is just not required. So right now I've got this box and this box. We've got these conditional logics. So I'll say this box is not required. All right, let's take a look at a preview. And we're looking this from the perspective of name 2, or this, the second person associated with this form. So you can see that this one is optional and it says required. So that means I can't finish this form until I fill this one out. This one's optional if it's relevant to me for some reason, or I can choose to leave it blank. If I click this one, then I did that, and that's fantastic. I've satisfied the fact that I have to choose one of these 3 to use. If I choose this one, that little box will show up, and now it's required. But it's not required until I pick this one, so I can still complete the form if I didn't choose these last 2. Same thing down here. You can see how they show up and disappear. And then you can also make them show up as not required. So if I click, unclick the required field over here and click recipient preview again. If you're over here, you can see that this one's required for whatever it is. And if I click this one, it's clicked, it's satisfied, but whatever this is optional. It's not required. So you can fiddle with some of that a little bit, depending on the nature of the form and the kind of information you need. Once you've got everything filled out, you'll go to this preview like I did and test it out, make sure that everything's working the way that it should work. You can click this. You can change who's interacting with it up here. It is worth noting that no matter who's interacting with it, if it's one person interacting with it at a time, they will always appear as the yellow boxes. So even though name 2 is expected to be blue, they're the only person interacting with the form, they're player 1, they're going to see all their stuff as yellow. So don't get scared by the colors when you're looking at the preview up here. And then you can also see the different versions of this. I think we looked at this in the email editor and designs, where you can see tablet view. If you know someone's working with a tablet or a phone, all the time, you can look at it from that perspective and see, does it make sense to them? Are these things overlaid weird when they get squished, or do I need to reorient what I'm doing? So once you've got all that stuff filled out, everything's exactly the way you need it. I'm gonna get rid of all of this extra stuff. You would just click send, and that would go out for signature. And what that would do is the person would get a little email that says, please DocuSign, or whatever you titled it. You would load up, you would see a page a lot like this, but they would only see their assigned fields. They would click to sign anything that they're supposed to. And once they're done, they would click finish. It would send back to you, and you would have a signed contract. It'd be something you can use now. So let's go back to what some of that looks like. Let's see if I've got some example envelopes to show things that are sort of like in process. So here we go. You can see that one of these was signed and completed. One's just a draft. Let me look over here. Maybe over here's got some envelopes. I'm just gonna give it a guess. Nope, nothing here. But if you were in the envelope sections, it would say something like out for signature, or signed, completed, or waiting to be viewed. And you would see the status of any given envelope and see if how far along people are with it. Once you've got it back, once people have signed it, you've got it back into your DocuSign, you've got this piece of paper that you need to then put into command so that people can review it. So what you do then is you can kind of close this down. You come back to your opportunity and you find your all the way back. And I'll show you from the start here. So let's go home. And you're gonna come back. You know that you've got to load something up. You click your opportunities, and you would find your opportunity. Or alternatively, you could go to the contact that you know is associated with that opportunity, because maybe that's a little bit easier to remember than whatever it is you named it. And if you click that person in your contacts list, you can go to opportunities and click whichever one of these you intend if they have more than one. Generally, they're probably only gonna have one at a time, so that's another way to kind of find your way back, find your way home. You click that, and we're right back into the details section of the opportunity. Okay, so now I know I'm definitely in the opportunity that I intend. I go to documents, and if I wanted to start a transaction, I could do that, and I know it'll be 100% in the DocuSign room. So there's some ways to kind of be 100% sure that you're where you intend to be. So let's check here. We'll go into view details. We'll go to documents, and then we're right here. There's that go to transaction button that I keep highlighting for everybody because it's important to know where it is. I am going to look for contracts from the DocuSign room docs. And then you would just click from here, or if it's not in the folder you expect, make sure you've got the right folder selected. And then you can just grab that, put that in. And if you wanted to, you could save it or submit now that that is something that's there. Now, I'm not going to do that because this is all dummy stuff and I don't want to confuse whoever's on the other end of this. So I'm going to remove that just to be safe, to get it out of the way. But that is sort of the complete process all the way back around, create an opportunity, put people on down it, get some forms signed, bring them all back, and connect it back to here. Let's see here. Janice, I don't know if you're able, if your audio is working or not, but if you have any questions before I move on to commissions, I'm going to do a really fast commissions because I used up my hour pretty good.
I'm good, Jonathan.
I can see that you're off mute, but I can't hear you. Let's see
Oh.
if I can hear you. All right. Well, if you have any questions, you can always type them in the chat. But we're going to move on to commissions real quick, and then hopefully I won't stay too much later than the intended time. All right, so in commissions, it's just moved down one. And this is sort of the, how you manage, like when you start getting offers coming in and you want to keep track of them, yeah, you can add them into your opportunities this way. So I've got a couple ones preloaded here just so that we could show how to compare them. You go to add new offer and you'd want to name it something like, oh, I got that keyboard lag. The teacher's curse. There we go. So call it this. And you're going to create that offer. And now you're just going to sort of follow the prompts, fill in the blanks to fill in the details of the offer. So call it this, the offer date, the close date, make that relevant to you. Parties, who's the name of the buyer? What's their email, what's their phone? Just fill in all of these blanks properly as well as you can. Pay attention to the required ones, of course, and go on to terms. Oh, I got to put in this name. Let's see what else can yell at me for. Here we go. All right. So now we're in terms, and it's worth noting that this number, and I'm getting that keyboard lag again, and this number need to equal each other. Well, they don't, I'm sorry, they don't need to equal each other. They add together to be this price over here. And I'm sorry, I'm getting keyboard lag again. I apologize for that. Okay, here we go. We're back. So that one plus this one will make this one over here. And then your earnest, your option fee, any of the stuff that probably makes a whole lot more sense to agents than myself. And once you get there, you can go to agent analysis. And these are the notes that you can leave behind. They don't necessarily get in front of the client that you're working with, but they could. You could send them that way. So when you're filling out these notes, or just in general, make sure you're proud of what you're saying. You're not being insulting or calling someone, like accidentally something weird, like bald guy or something like that. So some pros and some cons. Some cons are that I've got keyboard lag again. And then the summary. Yep. I'm just gonna paste that on up here. And this summary. All right, so we'll save that. So we've got this new offer here, and I've got all these offers, and I can kind of get a high level view of what's going on, but maybe I want to see a little bit better. So I'm going to say, okay, this one's pretty good, or maybe this one's also pretty good. And let's compare the two. Let's compare these offers. You can compare more than two, but it'll give you a little side by side of some of the relevant data. You can download it if you want to, and you can see a nice little thing that way. So if you wanted to print it out and show it to somebody, you can also email it to somebody. So you can click that, fill out who it's supposed to go to, whatever message you're supposed to have, but you can click this little I over here and send it to someone by email, and you get this kind of pretty email. So if you need to present these to someone you're working with, you can, one option to do that is here. Close this up. And let's head back here. Because I don't need to do any of this stuff. Back to offers. All right, so once you've decided on what offer you're going to accept, you would click the one that you're going to accept, you click accept. That's going to do some thinking, and then you can change your response and you can manage your commission. And then in here is where you do all of the exciting stuff that the agents probably know by heart on any particular transaction. Change the sales price, the total commission, the commission rate, the contract date, all of this. This is where the stuff needs to be accurate. You want to fill all that stuff out and save it. And edit agent payment and fill out this stuff the right way, which would just be anything that is relevant to what you're doing. If you're going to do some donations or something, how many units, which I think is if you're splitting something with somebody. So if you're only getting half, you go 0.5 and that'll calculate it. So if you're going, that would mean 0.5 of it's going to you for some reason, the rest of it's being dispersed in some other fashion. And then you would submit. Now I'm not going to click that because that means that's the bother somebody button. Again, like the submit to MC button, if you click that, it's going to kind of lock everything down. It's going to go in for review. So you've got to be 100% certain that when you click the submit button there, that you are ready to be reviewed. It's ready to go. Like there's no missing pieces. There's nothing inaccurate. It's totally filled out and you're ready. So that's all there is to it. Once you accept an offer, you can edit the information here, submit it, and then it goes into review and you're doing pretty good. So I'm going to head back out of here and I'm going to change my response to something. Oh, there we go. So that I don't accidentally have this accepted. But that's the commissions. It's pretty straightforward. I feel like that's probably the most exciting part of the class because we're talking about the money that you get. But I think that is about it. Check my notes really quick. Janice, while I'm checking my notes, is there anything that you want to know about, or because I know I went through that last part really fast because we're already kind of late, but I'm willing to spend some time with you if you've got any questions or if you want to go back through something. I'm free for the rest of the day, so we can stay here and talk if you want.
I'm good, Jonathan.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. I don't know what was going on before, but. All right, let me check my notes real quick. I think we got it. I think that's everything that I wanted to show. I may need to take a look at how much time I spent on the DocuSign portion. I feel like I always go long in this class, but thanks for joining me today, Janice. Tomorrow is the last tech training one. We're going to go through the website and the 2 phone apps a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
Let me stop share here for a second.